The sound of the glass shattering against the wall was louder than thunder. Shards of the expensive blue vase flew across the room, some landing dangerously close to Adanna's bare feet. She did not move. She did not flinch. She just stood there, her hands trembling by her side, her head feeling strangely light and cold. Minho stood in front of her, his chest heaving up and down. His face, usually so handsome and perfect like a statue, was twisted into a monster's mask of pure rage. He looked at her face, then his eyes traveled up to the place where her long, thick black braids used to be. Now, there was nothing. Just smooth, dark skin shining under the harsh living room lights. "Who gave you permission?" he whispered. The whisper was scarier than his screaming. He stepped closer, his expensive leather shoes crunching on the broken glass. He reached out and grabbed her chin, forcing her to look into his cold, dark eyes. "I asked you a question, Adanna. Who gave you permission to destroy my image?" Adanna opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Her throat was dry. "You think you own yourself?" Minho laughed, but it was a dry, cruel sound. "You think because I brought you here from Nigeria, gave you a roof over your head, and put clothes on your back, that you can just change the way you look. I married a woman with long, beautiful hair. Now I am looking at a stranger. A boy." He shoved her face away with disgust. Adanna stumbled back, hitting the wall. Tears burned her eyes, hot and stinging, but she refused to let them fall. She knew that crying only made him angrier. "Get out of my sight," he spat, turning his back on her. "You disgust me." But this moment, this terrible explosion of anger, did not happen overnight. It was the result of weeks of silence, weeks of begging, and weeks of a daughter watching her mother fade away from thousands of miles away. If you want to know what led Adanna to make this shocking decision and see how Minho reacts when the truth comes out, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, drop a comment below telling us where you are watching from. This is the most important aspect of this story. To understand why Adanna was standing in a room full of broken glass with a shaved head, we have to go back 3 weeks. It started with a phone call in the middle of the night. The phone buzzed on the nightstand at 3 a.m. Adanna woke up instantly. She knew that a call at this hour from Nigeria could only mean one thing: trouble. Beside her, Minho groaned and rolled over, pulling the blankets over his head. "Turn that thing off," he mumbled sleepily. Adanna grabbed the phone and ran to the bathroom, closing the door softly. "Hello, Chitty," she whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. "Adanna," her brother's voice cracked on the other end. He was crying. "It is Mama. She collapsed in the market today." Adanna felt her knees go weak. She sat down on the cold toilet seat. "What happened? Is she okay?" "The doctors say her heart is failing," Chitty explained, his voice shaking. "They did scans. She needs a pacemaker surgery, Adanna. And she needs it soon. Her heart is beating too slowly. If it stops, it won't start again." "How much?" Adanna asked, though she was terrified of the answer. $5,000, Chitty said. "That covers the surgery, the device, and the hospital stay. We sold the goats. We sold the extra land. We only have $300. You are our only hope, sister. You married a rich man. You are in Korea living the good life. Please. Living the good life." Adanna looked around the bathroom. It was made of marble. The faucets were gold. The soap cost more than her family's food budget for a month. Yes, she looked rich. But she was the poorest rich woman in Seoul. "I will get it," Adanna promised, tears streaming down her face. "Tell the doctors to keep her stable. I will get the money." She hung up and washed her face. She looked at herself in the mirror. She could do this. Minho was a difficult man. He was cold, but surely he would not let her mother die. He was a millionaire. $5,000 was nothing to him. It was like buying a pair of shoes. She waited until the next evening to ask him. She cooked his favorite meal, galbi jim, braised short ribs. She spent 4 hours making sure the meat was tender enough to fall off the bone. She cleaned the house until it sparkled. She wore the blue dress he liked. When Minho came home, he was in a decent mood. He ate the food without complaining for once. "The meat is good," he said, wiping his mouth. Adanna's heart soared. This was her chance. "Minho," she started softly, pouring him more water. "I need to ask you for a favor. A big one." Minho's face changed instantly. The small smile vanished. "Money." "It is my mother," Adanna said quickly. "She is dying, Minho." Her heart is failing. She needs surgery immediately. My brother called. They need $5,000. Minho put his chopsticks down slowly. The click against the table echoed in the silent room. $5,000, he repeated. He leaned back in his chair and looked at her. Do you think I am an ATM? Do you think because you married me, your entire family in Africa won the lottery? No, Minho, it is not like that, Adanna pleaded. This is life or death. I have never asked you for anything big. I don't buy jewelry. I don't go on trips. I just want to save my mother. You ask for things every day, Minho said coldly. You eat my food. You use my electricity. You live in my house. Is that not enough? Minho, please. Adanna reached across the table to touch his hand, but he pulled it away. She is the woman who gave birth to me. If she dies, I will never forgive myself. I will pay you back. I will work. I will clean other people's houses. Just loan it to me. Minho stood up. The answer is no. I work hard for my money. I do not throw it away on bad investments. And from what I hear about your village doctors, sending money there is like throwing it into a fire. She is old, Adanna. People die. That is life. He walked out of the dining room and turned on the TV, turning the volume up high so he couldn't hear her crying. A week passed. A week of torture. Every day, Chitty sent messages. Mama is weaker today. Mama can't breathe well. The doctor says we are running out of time. Adanna tried everything. She tried to save money from the grocery budget. Minho gave her a credit card for groceries, but he received a text message for every transaction. One day, she bought cheaper vegetables and tried to get cash back at the register. That night, Minho threw the receipt in her face. You are stealing from me, he shouted. I see the transaction. You tried to take out $50 cash. You are a thief in my own house. I am not a thief. Adanna screamed back. I am desperate. My mother is dying. Then let her die. Minho roared. The words hung in the air. Adanna stared at him. He didn't look sorry. He looked annoyed. He looked like she was a bug buzzing in his ear. You have a stone where your heart should be, Adanna whispered. And you have nothing, Minho sneered. Remember that. Without me, you are nothing. 2 weeks passed. The situation was critical. Chitty called again. He wasn't crying this time. He sounded defeated. The doctor said if we don't pay by Friday, they will discharge her, Chitty said quietly. They need the bed for paying patients. If they send her home, she will die in her sleep within 2 days. We have 48 hours, Adanna. Adanna hung up the phone. She felt calm. It was a terrifying, cold calm. She had 48 hours to find $5,000. She looked around the apartment. She owned nothing. The furniture was Minho's. The jewelry she wore was fake. He never bought her real gold because he said she would lose it. She went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror again. What did she have? What was valuable? She touched her face. No. She touched her skin. No. Then, her hands went to her hair. Her hair was her pride. In Nigeria, everyone loved her hair. It was thick, strong, and grew very long. Right now, it was in long braids with extensions, but underneath, she had been growing her natural hair for 5 years. It reached down to her waist when stretched. It was rare. It was beautiful. She remembered walking past a high-end salon in Gangnam the previous month. There was a sign in the window, written in English and Korean, "We buy luxury human hair. Virgin hair wanted. High pay up." Minho loved her hair. It was the only thing he ever complimented. He liked to run his fingers through it when they lay in bed, before he turned his back on her. He told his friends, "Look at my wife, she is exotic, her hair is so long." It was his trophy. If she sold it, she could save her mother. But Minho would never forgive her. She looked at the clock. It was 10 a.m. Minho was at work. Adanna didn't think twice. She grabbed her purse. She didn't have money for a taxi, so she walked. She walked for 2 hours in the cold Seoul wind until she reached the salon. She walked in, out of breath. The receptionist looked at her with suspicion. "I want to sell my hair," Adanna said. The manager came out. He was a small man with glasses. He inspected her hair. He asked her to undo a braid. When he saw the thick, healthy natural hair underneath, his eyes widened. "Very rare quality," he muttered. "Very strong." "How much?" Adanna asked. "I can give you $2,000, he said. "No," Adanna said firmly. I need 5,000. It is worth that much. You know it. You will make wigs that sell for 3,000 each from this. The manager hesitated. He looked at the hair again. 3,000. Cash. 4,000, Adanna countered. And you have to do it now. 3,500, the manager said. Final offer. It wasn't 5,000. But she had some savings from her birthday money years ago hidden in a shoe. Combined, it would be just enough. Deal, Adanna said. She sat in the chair. The cape was draped around her. The stylist began to undo the braids. It took hours. When her natural hair was finally loose, it was a massive, beautiful afro that defied gravity. Are you sure? The stylist asked, holding the scissors. Adanna closed her eyes. She saw her mother laughing in the village square. She saw her mother dancing at her wedding. Cut it, she whispered. Snip. The sound was like a gunshot. A large chunk of hair fell to the floor. Snip. Snip. Adanna cried silently. Tears rolled down her cheeks and onto the cape. She felt lighter, but she also felt naked. She felt like she was losing her crown. 30 minutes later, it was done. The manager shaved the rest off with electric clippers to get the maximum length. Her head was smooth. Bald. She took the envelope of cash. She didn't look in the mirror. She couldn't bear to see herself yet. She ran to the nearest bank and wired the money to the hospital in Benin City. It is done, she texted Chitty. Mama will live. She walked home. The wind felt like ice on her scalp. People on the street stared at her. A bald African woman in Seoul. She looked like an alien to them. Some pointed. Some laughed. Adanna held her head high. She had saved her mother. But as she got closer to the apartment, the fear set in. Minho. She wrapped a silk scarf around her head, creating a turban. Maybe he wouldn't notice. Maybe she could say she was trying a new style. She cooked dinner, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. Minho came home late. He was already in a bad mood. He had lost a deal at work. He threw his briefcase on the sofa and loosened his tie. Dinner, he barked. Adanna served him. He ate in silence. Then, he looked up. What is on your head? He asked, pointing his chopstick at the scarf. It is a new fashion, Adanna lied, her voice trembling. Take it off, Minho said. We are indoors. It is rude. I have a headache, Minho. The scarf helps tight. I said take it off. He reached across the table and yanked the silk fabric. It unraveled. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. Minho stared. His eyes went wide. The chopstick fell from his hand and clattered onto the table. He looked at her bald head. He looked at her face. What is this? He whispered. I sold it, Adanna said, her voice gaining strength. I sold it for Mama. You wouldn't help me. So I helped myself. Minho stood up slowly. His face turned red, then purple. He grabbed the flower vase from the center of the table and threw it against the wall. Crash. And that brings us back to the broken glass. You are ugly, Minho said, his voice dripping with venom. You look like a sick person. You look like a mun. Do you know how much shame you bring me? My friends will laugh at me. They will ask if my wife has gone crazy. My mother is alive. Adanna shouted back. That is all that matters. Not in this house. Minho screamed. In this house, I matter. My image matters. He walked to the bedroom and came back with a suitcase. He threw it at her feet. Pack, he said. Minho, no, Adanna cried. It is night. It is freezing. Where will I go? I don't care, he said. Go to Nigeria. Go to the streets. But you will not sleep in my house looking like that. You embarrassed me, Adanna. You betrayed me. I betrayed you. Adanna laughed bitterly. You betrayed your vows. In sickness and in health. For richer or for poorer. You failed me. Get out. Minho grabbed her arm. His grip was like iron. He dragged her to the door. Adanna grabbed her coat, but he snatched it from her. That coat, he sneered. I bought it. Leave it. Minho, please. I will freeze. Then maybe your hair will grow back faster to keep you warm. He opened the door and shoved her into the hallway. Adanna fell hard on her knees. Don't come back, he said. I will send divorce papers in the morning. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked. Adanna stood up, shivering uncontrollably. She was wearing a thin house dress. No coat. No money. No hair. She walked out of the building, hugging herself to keep warm. The security guard looked at her with pity but didn't say anything. She walked to the street corner. The wind cut through her clothes like knives. She sat down on a cold bench, her teeth chattering. She had saved her mother, but she had lost her life. She put her head in her hands and cried. But she was not alone. Across the street, a black sedan with tinted windows was parked under a broken street lamp. The engine was running quietly. Inside, a man sat in the driver's seat. He was wearing a dark suit and a long scar ran down his left cheek. He had been watching Minho's apartment for weeks. He had seen the way Minho treated her. He had seen the anger. And now, he saw the opportunity. The man picked up his phone and dialed a number. "Boss," the man said, his voice gravelly. "Minho just kicked her out. She is on the street. Alone." A voice on the other end answered, deep and dangerous. "Good. Bring her to me. Minho thinks he is untouchable. But he just threw away the only person who could save him from what is coming." The call ended. The black car slowly pulled away from the curb and turned towards Adanna. The headlights swept over her shivering form. Adanna looked up, blinded by the lights coming toward her. The headlights of the black car blinded Adanna. She raised her hand to cover her eyes, her body shaking so hard from the cold that her teeth clicked together like little stones. She thought about running. She thought about screaming. But where could she run? Her legs were frozen blocks of ice. Her throat was too dry to make a sound. The car door opened. A man stepped out. He was tall, wearing a thick black coat and leather gloves. A long, thin scar ran down his cheek, making him look dangerous. Adanna squeezed her eyes shut, waiting for him to hurt her. She waited for the hit. But the hit never came. Instead, something warm and heavy settled around her shoulders. Adanna opened her eyes. The man had taken off his own expensive coat and wrapped it around her. It smelled like expensive tobacco and peppermint. "Get in," the man said. His voice was deep, like rocks tumbling down a mountain. It wasn't a request. It was an order. Who are you?" Adanna stammered, clutching the coat. "Someone who knows your husband better than you do," the man said. "And someone who knows that if you stay on this street for 10 more minutes, you will freeze to death. Get in." Adanna looked at the empty, dark street. She looked at the warm car. She had no choice. She climbed into the back seat. The heat inside was blasting. It felt like heaven. Her frozen fingers started to tingle as the blood rushed back. As the car pulled away into the Seoul night, Adanna looked out the window at the building where Minho lived. She felt a tear slide down her nose. She had saved her mother, but she had walked into a trap. "Where are we going?" Adanna asked. The man looked at her in the rearview mirror. "To understand the monster you married, Mrs. Kim. You think Minho was born a devil? No. Devils are made." If you are enjoying this story and want to support us, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. Let's dive into the dark past of Minho. The car drove for 30 minutes, leaving the city center and heading up a winding road into the mountains surrounding Seoul. They arrived at a large, traditional Korean house, a hanok, hidden behind high walls and bamboo trees. The scarred man, whose name was Mr. Park, led her inside. A servant immediately brought her hot tea and a warm blanket. "Sit," Mr. Park said, pointing to a cushion. "Why are you helping me?" Adanna asked, holding the teacup with both hands to warm them. "Do you want money?" "I have none. I gave it all to the hospital." Mr. Park laughed. He sat down opposite her and lit a cigarette. "I don't need money. I am the head of the rival company to Minho's. We have been enemies for 10 years. But I was also his best friend once." Adanna's eyes widened. "Best friend? You?" "Yes." Mr. Park exhaled a cloud of smoke. "You see the Minho who throws plates and kicks his wife out in the cold. But I see the ghost of the man he used to be. Do you want to know why he hates you? Why he hates women? Why he hates money being spent on anyone but himself?" "Yes," Adanna whispered. "Then listen close," Mr. Park said. "Because this story will break your heart before it makes you angry. 10 years ago, Minho was not always a CEO in a gray suit. 10 years ago, Minho was 25 years old, and he was known as the smiling angel of the district. He had inherited a small fortune from his father, but instead of hoarding it, he used it to help people. He was the kind of man who would stop his car to help an old lady carry her groceries. He was the kind of man who paid for his employees' weddings. He laughed loud and often. His heart was open, wide like a door with no lock. And then, he met Sujin. Sujin was a waitress at a small cafe near Minho's office. She was tiny, with big, innocent doe eyes and long, silky hair that went down to her waist. She looked like a doll. She told Minho a sad story. Her father was in debt to loan sharks, her mother was sick, and she was working 3 jobs just to survive. Does that sound familiar, Adanna? Minho fell in love. Not just a little bit. He fell in love with his whole soul. He saw a damsel in distress, and he wanted to be her knight in shining armor. I will save you, Minho told her one rainy night, holding her hands. I will pay your father's debts. I will buy your mother the best medicine. You will never have to work again. Sujin cried. She kissed his hands. She told him he was her god. For 2 years, Minho gave her everything. He bought her a house. He bought her diamonds. He paid off the debts she claimed she had. His friends, including Mr. Park, warned him. Minho, Mr. Park had said back then. Something is wrong. Her stories don't add up. Why does she need $10,000 for medicine this week when you gave her $20,000 last week? Check the receipts. But Minho got angry. You are just jealous, Park. You don't know what love is. She is my soulmate. She trusts me, and I trust her. Minho was so blinded by love that he did something foolish. He was building a new software company, a project that was going to change the world. It was worth millions. He made Sujin the co-signer of his business accounts. He wanted her to feel like his equal. He wanted her to feel like a queen. What is mine is yours, he told her on the night he proposed. He gave her a ring worth $50,000. The wedding was set for a beautiful spring day. Minho was the happiest man alive. He stood at the altar in his white tuxedo, waiting for his bride. The church was full. The flowers were fresh. He waited. And waited. 30 minutes passed. The guests started whispering. Minho checked his watch, sweating. She is just late, he told Mr. Park, who was his best man. Traffic is bad. Then, his phone buzzed. It was a notification from the bank. Withdrawal alert, account ending in 4590, balance, $0. Withdrawal alert, account ending in 2210, balance, $0. Withdrawal alert, savings, balance, $0. Minho frowned. He tried to call the bank. Then he got a text message. It was from Sujin. It was a video. Minho opened it, his hands shaking. In the video, Sujin was sitting in the first-class cabin of an airplane. She was holding a glass of champagne. She was laughing. But it wasn't the sweet, shy laugh Minho knew. It was a cruel, cackling laugh. Hello, my stupid angel, Sujin said to the camera, waving her passport. I am on my way to Switzerland. Thank you for the donation. You were so easy to trick. Oh, my sick mother. Oh, my poor father. She mocked her own crying face, then burst out laughing again. I never loved you, Minho. You are boring. You are weak. You are a fool who thinks money buys loyalty. I have taken everything. The business money, your inheritance, even the mortgage on your house. You are bankrupt. Goodbye, loser. The video ended. Minho dropped the phone. He fell to his knees at the altar. That day, Minho didn't just lose his money. He didn't just lose his bride. He lost his ability to feel. He went home to an empty house that the bank took away the next day. He lived in a small, dirty motel room for 3 years. He ate instant noodles. He worked 18 hours a day at construction sites, his soft hands becoming hard and calloused. He built himself back up from zero. But this time, he built walls around his heart too. He vowed he would never be the angel again. He learned that generosity was a weakness. He learned that women who asked for help were liars. He learned that everyone wanted to steal from him. When he finally became rich again, he was a different man. He was the Minho you know. The man who checks every receipt. The man who thinks everyone is a gold digger. The man who trusts no one. Present day. Mr. Park finished his story and put out his cigarette. The smoke drifted into the ceiling beams. Adanna sat in silence. Tears were running down her face again, but this time, they weren't for herself. They were for the young man in the white tuxedo falling to his knees. He thinks I am her, Adanna whispered. He thinks I am Sujin. Exactly, Mr. Park said. When you asked for money for your sick mother, it was the exact same lie Sujin told him for 2 years. It triggered his trauma. He didn't see Adanna, the loyal wife. He saw Sujin, the vampire. But I am not her. Adanna cried. I stayed. I cooked for him. I cleaned for him. I shaved my head to save my mother instead of stealing from him. Can't he see the difference? Fear makes people blind, Mr. Park said. He leaned forward. But now you have a choice, Adanna. Minho threw you away. He treated you like trash. I can help you get revenge. I can give you a lawyer. We can take half his money. We can destroy him publicly. He deserves it, doesn't he? Adanna looked down at her hands. She thought about Minho's cold face. She thought about the broken vase. She thought about the way he dragged her across the floor. But then she thought about the broken man in the story. A man who had been hurt so badly he forgot how to love. No, Adanna said softly. Mr. Park looked surprised. No. I don't want to destroy him, Adanna said, lifting her chin. He is sick. His heart is sick. Revenge won't cure him. And revenge won't give me my hair back. Mr. Park smiled, a genuine smile this time. You are a rare woman, Adanna. Perhaps you are the only one who can actually save him. But it might be too late. What do you mean? Adanna asked, sensing a sudden tension in the air. Mr. Park looked at his watch. Minho kicked you out because he was angry. But he is also distracted. He is so focused on his anger at you that he has stopped paying attention to his business enemies. There is a gang, the Viper Gang, that Sujin worked for. They know Minho is vulnerable tonight. They know he is alone in that apartment. Adanna stood up, the blanket falling off her shoulders. Alone. But he has security. He fired his head of security yesterday in a fit of rage, Mr. Park revealed. He is completely alone in that penthouse. And the Vipers are coming to finish what Sujin started 10 years ago. They don't just want his money this time, Adanna. They want his life. Adanna's heart stopped. Minho was a monster. He was cruel. He was mean. But he was her husband. And now she knew he was just a wounded boy wearing a monster's mask. I have to go, Adanna said, rushing to the door. I have to warn him. He kicked you out. Mr. Park shouted after her. He won't listen to you. He will think you are coming back to beg. I don't care what he thinks. Adanna yelled back, grabbing the door handle. He is my husband. Meanwhile, at Minho's apartment. The apartment was silent. The broken glass was still on the floor. Minho sat on the expensive leather sofa, a glass of whiskey in his hand. The bottle was empty. He stared at the spot on the floor where Adanna had stood. He stared at the clumps of black hair that the cleaners hadn't swept up yet. He felt strange. Usually, when he got angry, he felt powerful. He felt in control. But tonight, he felt a cold draft in the room, even though the windows were closed. He looked at the coffee table. Adanna had left her phone behind when he dragged her out. The screen lit up. A message. He picked it up. He knew he shouldn't look, but he did. It was a text from a contact named Brother Chitty. Adanna, thank God. The money arrived. The doctors are prepping Mama for surgery now. You saved her. I don't know how you got the money, but tell Minho we are forever grateful. You are a good daughter. I hope you didn't have to suffer too much to get it. Minho read the message 3 times. The money arrived. You saved her. His hand shook. The whiskey splashed onto his wrist. She hadn't lied. The mother was real. The sickness was real. The surgery was real. Adanna hadn't stolen from him. She had mutilated herself, cut off the hair she knew he loved, because he refused to help her. She had chosen her mother over her vanity. She had chosen sacrifice. Sujin had never sacrificed anything. Sujin only took. What have I done? Minho whispered to the empty room. He stood up, his legs wobbly from the alcohol. He needed to find her. He needed to. Click. The lights in the apartment suddenly went out. Minho froze. He wasn't drunk anymore. His instincts, sharpened by years of fighting in the business world, kicked in. The electronic lock on his front door didn't beep. It just opened. 3 shadows stepped into the apartment. They were dressed in black. They wore masks. And in the moonlight coming from the window, Minho saw the glint of metal. Long, sharp knives. Hello, Minho, a voice hissed from the darkness. Sujin sends her regards. Minho dropped the whiskey glass. It shattered, joining the broken vase on the floor. He was unarmed. He was drunk. He was alone. And his bald wife was somewhere on the cold streets of Seoul, the only person who had ever told him the truth, and he had thrown her away. One of the men stepped forward, raising the knife. Time to pay the interest on your debt. The black sedan sped down the winding mountain road, tires screeching around the corners. Mr. Park's driver was going fast, but to Adanna, it felt like they were moving in slow motion. She gripped the leather seat until her knuckles turned white. "Can't you go faster?" she begged. "He is in danger." Mr. Park sat calmly beside her, but his eyes were sharp. "We are going as fast as we can, Adanna. But tell me something." "Why?" Adanna looked at him, confused. "Why what? Why are you rushing back into the fire?" Mr. Park asked. "You know he kicked you out. You know he humiliated you. You know he is broken. Most women would take the taxi money and run. Why do you stay?" Adanna looked out the window at the city lights of Seoul below. "Because I didn't marry Minho for his money, Mr. Park. Everyone thinks I did. His friends, his family, even him. They see a poor African girl and a rich Korean man, and they do the math. They think 1 + 1 = gold digger." She turned back to Mr. Park, her eyes fierce. "My family was poor. Yes. We struggled. When I met Minho, I saw a man who was lonely. I saw a man who had everything but had nothing. I remember the first time I saw him. He was sitting on a park bench, eating a sandwich alone, looking so sad that it broke my heart. I didn't know he was a CEO. I just thought he needed a friend. I sat down and shared my orange with him. He smiled. It was a small, rusty smile, like he hadn't used it in years. Tears welled up in her eyes. I married him because I wanted to heal that sadness. I thought if I loved him enough, the ice in his heart would melt. I failed. But I won't let him die thinking no one loves him. I won't let him die alone." Mr. Park looked at her for a long time. Then, he pulled out his phone. "Driver, step on it. We cannot let a woman like this become a widow tonight." Inside the penthouse apartment, the air smelled of blood and expensive whiskey. Minho was on the floor. His lip was split, and one eye was swelling shut. He coughed, and blood splattered onto the pristine white marble tiles. 3 men stood over him. The leader, a man with a snake tattoo on his neck, kicked Minho in the ribs. Crack! Minho groaned and curled into a ball. "Pathetic," the leader spat. "The great Minho Kim. The king of Gangnam. Look at you now. Crying on the floor like a baby." "Just kill me," Minho wheezed. "Get it over with." "Oh, we will kill you," the leader laughed. "But first, we need your fingerprint. And your retina scan." One of the men grabbed Minho's hair and slammed his face onto the coffee table where a laptop was open. They forced his eye open to scan it. Beep. "Access granted." "Look at all those zeros," the leader whistled. "Sujin was right. You made a lot of money since she left you. And now, she is taking it back." Minho watched through his one good eye as the numbers on the screen started to drop. $10 million, transferring. $5 million, transferring. 0. Then the stocks. Sold. The real estate holdings. Transferred to offshore shell companies. In 5 minutes, Minho went from being one of the richest men in Seoul to having less money than the beggar on the street. "It's gone," the leader grinned. "You are bankrupt, Minho. Again." Minho closed his eyes. Surprisingly, he didn't feel angry about the money. He felt relief. The money was the curse. The money was the reason he lost his soul. The money was the reason he lost Adanna. "Now," the leader said, pulling out a long, serrated knife. The boss said no witnesses. "We can't have you calling the police." He raised the knife high. Minho didn't fight. He thought of Adanna. He thought of her bald head, the sacrifice she made for her mother. He realized she was the only real thing he had ever had. "I am sorry, Adanna," he thought. "I hope you find a man who deserves you." The knife came down. Crash! The front door didn't just open, it exploded inward. "Leave him alone." The scream was so loud, so primal, that the leader froze with the knife inches from Minho's chest. Adanna stood in the doorway. She wasn't wearing armor. She was wearing a man's oversized coat, barefoot, with a shaved head that shone under the hallway lights. She looked like a warrior. She looked like a fury. "Get away from my husband," she roared. The leader laughed. "Or what? You going to hit me with your wig?" Adanna didn't wait. She saw the heavy umbrella stand by the door. She grabbed it, a solid brass cylinder, and charged. She didn't think about the knives. She didn't think about fear. She swung the heavy brass stand with all her might. Thwack! It connected with the leader's arm. The knife clattered to the floor. The leader howled in pain. "You crazy witch," he screamed. The other two men lunged at her. Adanna stood over Minho's broken body, shielding him. She took a punch to the face. Then a kick to the stomach. She fell, gasping for air, but she didn't move off Minho. She covered his head with her arms. "Don't touch him," she sobbed, blood running from her nose. "You have to kill me first." Minho looked up at her. Through the pain, through the blood, he saw her. She was taking the blows meant for him. She came back. She came back. "Adanna," he whispered. The leader picked up his knife with his left hand. "Fine. We will kill you both. Romeo and Juliet style." He stepped forward to finish them. But suddenly, the room filled with red laser dots. 3 red dots appeared on the leader's chest. "Drop the knife," a deep voice boomed from the doorway. Mr. Park stood there, holding a handgun. Behind him were 4 of his personal bodyguards, all armed. The leader looked at the guns. He looked at his injured arm. He looked at the empty bank account on the laptop. "We got the money anyway," the leader sneered. "Let's go." The gang members scrambled toward the window, rappelling down the fire escape into the night. They vanished like smoke, taking Minho's fortune with them. The room was silent, except for the sound of heavy breathing. Adanna collapsed on top of Minho. She checked his pulse. It was weak. "Call an ambulance," she screamed at Mr. Park. "He is dying." 3 days later, Minho woke up. The first thing he noticed was the smell. It didn't smell like his expensive private hospital room. It smelled like bleach and boiled cabbage. He opened his eyes. He was in a room with 6 other beds. Curtains separated them. Babies were crying. An old man was coughing loudly next to him. "Where am I?" he croaked. "You are at Seoul General Public Hospital," a soft voice said. Minho turned his head. Adanna was sitting in a plastic chair next to his bed. She looked tired. There were dark circles under her eyes. Her lip was swollen where the gang member had punched her. She was wearing cheap clothes, a tracksuit he had never seen before. "Public hospital?" Minho tried to sit up, but his ribs burned with fire. "Why?" "Move me to the VIP suite." "Call my secretary." Adanna took his hand. Her hands were rough. "Minho, there is no VIP suite. There is no secretary." Minho froze. The memory of the night came flooding back. The laptop. The transfer. The zeros. "They took it all," he whispered. "Everything," Adanna said gently. "Your personal accounts, the company accounts, the offshore funds. The police said it was a sophisticated hack. The money is in a dozen different countries by now. They can't trace it. And the house. Seized by the bank," Adanna said. "Apparently, the hackers also triggered some debt clauses. The bank took the apartment yesterday. We have nothing, Minho. Just the clothes on our backs." Minho stared at the ceiling. The paint was peeling. He was back. He was back to zero. Back to the motel room. Back to the poverty he had fought so hard to escape. "Leave," he said. Adanna squeezed his hand. "What?" "I said leave." Minho's voice broke. Tears leaked from his eyes. "I am a beggar now, Adanna. I have nothing. I can't feed you. I can't house you. I am a failure. Go back to Nigeria. Find another man. Just go." He couldn't look at her. The shame was burning him alive. He had treated her like trash because he thought she wanted his money. Now, he had no money, and she was the one sitting in the plastic chair. "I am not going anywhere," Adanna said firmly. "Why?" Minho sobbed. "I called you ugly. I kicked you out. I let you shave your head alone. I am a monster." "Yes, you were a monster," Adanna said. She stood up and poured him a glass of water. "But you are also my husband. And I made a vow. For richer or for poorer. We did the richer part, Minho. Now we do the poorer part. But how will we live?" Minho asked, panic rising in his chest. "I can't work. My ribs are broken. My reputation is destroyed." "I have 2 hands," Adanna said, holding them up. "And I have strong legs. I already found a job." "A job? You?" Minho looked at her in shock. "Doing what?" "Cleaning," Adanna said. "I start tonight. I am cleaning this hospital. It pays minimum wage, but it will cover your medicine and our food." Minho looked at his wife. The wife he had called useless. The wife he had mocked. She stood up and put on a yellow rubber apron. She pulled on thick rubber gloves. "Rest now, Minho," she said, kissing his forehead. "I have to go mop the hallway before the doctor comes." She turned and walked out of the curtained area. Minho lay there, listening to the sound of a mop bucket rolling across the floor. Squeak. Squeak. Then the sound of a wet mop slapping against the tiles. Slap. Swish. Slap. Swish. It was his wife. His proud, beautiful wife. Scrubbing the filth of strangers to buy him antibiotics. For the first time in 10 years, Minho cried. Not tears of anger. Not tears of self-pity. But tears of pure, agonizing shame. He had been terrified of being used for his money. But now that the money was gone, he saw the truth. The only thing worth anything in his life was the woman in the yellow apron. And he had almost killed her. Weeks turned into months. Minho's recovery was slow. The beating had been severe. He had internal damage that required multiple surgeries. Without insurance, the bills piled up high. Adanna worked like a machine. She woke up at 4 a.m. to deliver newspapers. Then she went to the hospital to wash Minho and feed him. Then she worked a shift at a restaurant washing dishes. Then she came back to the hospital to clean the floors at night. She grew thin. Her clothes hung off her frame. Her beautiful face was gaunt. But her eyes were always bright when she looked at him. One evening, 6 months later, Minho was finally discharged. He was weak, walking with a cane. He wore old clothes Adanna had bought from a thrift store. Where are we going? Minho asked as they walked out of the hospital doors into the cold autumn air. We have no home. I found a place, Adanna smiled. It is not the penthouse. But it is ours. She led him to a bus stop. They took 3 buses to the outskirts of the city, to a poor neighborhood with narrow alleys and crumbling walls. They stopped in front of a tiny, semi-basement apartment. The kind where you can see the feet of people walking by through the window. It smelled of damp and mold. Adanna unlocked the door. The room was the size of Minho's old bathroom. There was 1 mattress on the floor. A small gas stove. A tiny fridge. Welcome home, Adanna said softly. Minho looked around. It was a rat hole. But he saw fresh flowers in a jar on the windowsill. He saw his favorite book, which she must have saved from the apartment somehow, sitting on a crate. He turned to Adanna. She was taking off her coat. Her hair had started to grow back, a short, soft fuzz covering her scalp. She looked exhausted. Her hands were red and cracked from the harsh cleaning chemicals. Minho dropped his cane. He fell to his knees on the cold linoleum floor. Adanna, he choked out. Minho, what is wrong? Are you in pain? She rushed to him. I am sorry, he wept, grabbing her rough hands and pressing them to his face. I am so sorry. I am nothing. I can't give you anything. I am a burden. Shoo. Adanna soothed him, stroking his face. You are alive. That is enough. I will fix this, Minho vowed, looking into her eyes with a fire she hadn't seen in a long time. I swear to you, Adanna. I will fix this. I will build it all back. Not for me, but for you. I will treat you like the queen you are. I know you will, she whispered. But for now, let's just eat. I made stew. They sat on the floor, sharing a bowl of cheap stew. It was the best meal Minho had ever tasted. But outside, in the dark alley, trouble was lurking again. The Viper gang had taken the money, but they hadn't forgotten Minho's face. And they knew he was still alive. A shadow passed by the small basement window. Adanna looked up. Did you hear that? Minho gripped her hand. He looked at the window. Stay here. He stood up, grabbing his cane as a weapon. He wasn't the rich, soft CEO anymore. He was a man who had nothing left to lose but his wife. And he would kill anyone who tried to touch her again. Minho gripped his cane tighter. His knuckles turned white. The shadow outside the basement window stopped moving. It was waiting. Stay behind me, Minho whispered to Adanna. You are hurt, Adanna whispered back, grabbing a heavy frying pan from the stove. We fight together. The door handle jiggled. Slowly. Deliberately. Then, a heavy boot kicked the door. Bam! The cheap wood splintered. The door flew open. A man stepped into their tiny room. He was huge, wearing a leather jacket with the Viper symbol on the collar. He wasn't the leader, but he was big enough to crush Minho with one hand. He smelled like cigarettes and rain. Well, well, the thug grunted, looking around the tiny, damp room. The boss heard a rumor you were still alive. He didn't like that rumor. He pulled out a metal pipe. Minho didn't wait. He didn't think about his broken ribs. He didn't think about his weak leg. He thought about Adanna. He thought about the woman who had scrubbed floors for months to keep him alive. "Get out," Minho growled. The thug laughed. He swung the pipe. Minho ducked. The pipe smashed into the wall, showering them with plaster dust. Minho thrust his cane forward, driving the tip hard into the thug's stomach. The Mun grunted, doubling over, but he didn't fall. He grabbed the cane and ripped it out of Minho's hands, tossing it aside. "Is that all you got, rich boy?" the thug sneered. He raised the pipe again. Minho closed his eyes, bracing for the blow. Clang! The sound of metal on bone rang out. But Minho didn't feel pain. He opened his eyes. The thug was stumbling backward, clutching his head. Adanna stood there, the frying pan raised high, her chest heaving. "I said," Adanna screamed, her eyes blazing like fire, "leave my husband alone." She swung again. Clang! The pan hit the thug's shoulder. He yelled and fell back, tripping over the mattress. "Get out!" Minho roared, grabbing the fallen metal pipe. He stood over the thug, looking like a demon. "Tell your boss if he comes back, I won't just break his arm. I will burn his whole world down." The thug looked at Minho's eyes. He saw something terrifying. He saw a Mun who had already lost everything and had nothing left to fear. The thug scrambled up and ran out the door, disappearing into the rainy night. Minho dropped the pipe. He turned to Adanna. They were both breathing hard, shaking. "You." Minho started, then he started to laugh. It was a breathless, hysterical laugh. "You hit him with the pan." "It was the only thing I had," Adanna said, a small smile breaking through her fear. Minho pulled her into his arms. He hugged her so tight his ribs hurt, but he didn't care. "Thank you. You saved me again." "We save each other," she whispered. "If you are cheering for Minho and Adanna, hit the like button now. They are fighting back." But survival wasn't enough. The attack proved one thing: they weren't safe. As long as they were poor, as long as they were weak, the world would keep trying to crush them. "I need to work," Minho said the next morning. He was bandaging the door with duct tape. "I need to make money. Real money. Not just for food, but to get us out of here." "But your reputation," Adanna worried. "No one will hire you." "I don't care," Minho said. "I will start from the bottom." Minho put on his best shirt. It was old and faded, but Adanna had ironed it perfectly. He walked to the business district. He walked into the offices of his old partners. "Get out," the receptionist at the first building said without even looking up. "We don't allow beggars." "I am Minho Kim," he said, standing tall. "I used to own this building." "Used to," she laughed. "Security." He was thrown out. He went to a construction site. The foreman looked at his limp, at his thin frame. You can't lift a brick. Go home, Grandpa." He was rejected. Again. And again. And again. By 5 p.m., Minho sat on a park bench. It was the same park bench where he had met Adanna years ago. But now, the snow was falling. He was cold. He was hungry. And he felt useless. He saw a group of businessmen walking by, laughing, checking their expensive phones. They were using an app he had invented 5 years ago. They were complaining about it. "This thing is so slow," one man said. "It crashes every time I try to transfer large files." "Yeah, the code is outdated," the other agreed. "But there is no alternative." Minho listened. His ears perked up. Outdated code. He looked at the trash can next to the bench. Sitting on top of a pile of newspapers was a cracked tablet. Someone had thrown it away because the screen was smashed. Minho picked it up. He pressed the power button. It flickered. 10% battery. It was enough. Minho ran home. He didn't feel the cold anymore. He burst into the basement apartment. "Adanna," he shouted. "I need Wi-Fi. Where can I get free Wi-Fi?" "The coffee shop down the street," Adanna said, surprised. "Minho, what is it?" "I have an idea," he said, his eyes feverish. "The world thinks I am dead. They think my brain died with my bank account. But I am still Minho Kim. I am the best coder in Seoul." For the next 2 weeks, Minho didn't sleep. He sat outside the coffee shop in the freezing cold, using their free Wi-Fi. He typed on the cracked tablet with his frozen fingers. Adanna brought him hot tea in a thermos. She wrapped blankets around him. "Eat," she would say, feeding him rice balls. "Not yet," he would mumble, his eyes glued to the screen. Almost there. He was building something new. A security algorithm. The Viper gang had hacked him because his old system had a backdoor. He was building a digital fortress. A system that was unhackable. Something every bank in the world would pay millions for. But his body was weak. He wasn't eating enough. He was stressed. One night, as he was finalizing the code, he heard a sound from the mattress. Cough. Cough. It was a wet, heavy cough. Minho turned around. Adanna was curled up in a ball. She was shivering violently. Adanna. He crawled over to her. He touched her forehead. It was burning hot. I am fine, she whispered, her teeth chattering. Just a cold. Minho pulled her hand away from her mouth. There was blood on her palm. No, Minho gasped. No. It is pneumonia, Adanna admitted weakly. The doctor at the free clinic told me yesterday. I need antibiotics. I need rest. But we have no money for the medicine. Minho looked at the blood. He looked at the cracked tablet. He looked at his wife, who was fading away just like her mother had. The irony hit him like a punch. Adanna had sold her hair to save her mother. Now, she had worked herself to death to save him. You will not die, Minho said, his voice shaking. I forbid it. He grabbed the tablet. He stood up. Where are you going? Adanna cried weakly. To sell the code, Minho said. I am going to get the money. Stay here. Do not close your eyes. He ran. He ran through the snow, his limp forgotten. He ran to the one place he knew he could get a meeting. The headquarters of Mr. Park. It was 9 p.m. The guards at the gate stopped him. I need to see Mr. Park. Minho shouted. Tell him Minho is here. Tell him I have the key. The guards pushed him back. Mr. Park is in a meeting. Get lost. Tell him. Minho screamed, fighting them. Tell him if he doesn't see me in 5 minutes, I will sell this to his competitors. A moment later, the gate buzzed open. Minho stormed into the office. Mr. Park was sitting behind his massive desk, looking surprised. Minho, Mr. Park said. You look terrible. $50,000. Minho slammed the tablet on the desk. Cash. Now. What is this? Mr. Park asked. It is a ghost protocol, Minho said, breathing hard. It blocks any hack. It traces the hackers and destroys their systems. It is what destroyed me. I fixed it. It is worth millions. I am giving it to you for 50,000. Mr. Park looked at the tablet. He looked at Minho. Why so cheap? My wife is dying, Minho said, tears streaming down his dirty face. I don't care about millions. I care about her. Give me the money, Park. Please. For old time's sake. Mr. Park stared at him. Then, he opened his drawer. He pulled out 2 thick stacks of cash. Take it, Mr. Park said. And take my car. Get her to the hospital. Minho grabbed the money. Thank you. He turned to run. Minho, Mr. Park called out. Minho stopped. The Vipers, Mr. Park said quietly. They know you are building something. My spies tell me they are heading to your apartment tonight. They want to burn the basement. With her inside. Minho's blood turned to ice. Adanna was alone. She was sick. She couldn't fight. Go. Mr. Park threw him the car keys. Minho sprinted to the elevator. He reached the lobby, jumped into Mr. Park's sports car, and floored it. The engine roared. He wove through traffic, running red lights. Please, God, he prayed. Don't take her. Take everything else. Take my life. But don't take her. He turned the corner onto their street. And then he saw it. Orange light. Flickering against the night sky. Smoke billowing up from the ground. The semi-basement apartment was on fire. Adanna. Minho screamed. He slammed on the brakes and jumped out of the car before it even stopped moving. The crowd was gathered, watching the flames lick up the side of the building. Is anyone inside? A woman screamed. A woman, a neighbor yelled. The African woman. She didn't come out. Minho didn't hesitate. He didn't wait for the firemen. He grabbed a wet blanket from a bystander's washing line and wrapped it around his head. He dove into the smoke. Minho, no, the neighbors shouted. But Minho was already gone, disappearing into the heart of the fire. The heat inside the basement was like the inside of an oven. Black smoke filled the air, thick and choking. It burned Minho's eyes and throat instantly. He couldn't see anything. He could only hear the roar of the fire eating the wooden furniture. Adanna, he screamed, but the smoke swallowed his voice. He dropped to his hands and knees, crawling across the hot floor. The heat was blistering. His skin felt like it was melting. But he kept crawling. He knew the layout of the tiny room. The mattress was in the corner. "Adanna, please," he coughed, covering his mouth with the wet blanket. "Answer me." He reached the corner. His hand touched something soft. A foot. He scrambled forward. Adanna was lying on the floor, curled up. She wasn't moving. The smoke was thickest here. "No, no, no," Minho sobbed. He put his ear to her chest. Thump, thump. A faint heartbeat. She was alive, but barely. She had passed out from the smoke. Minho tried to lift her, but his bad leg buckled. The pain was excruciating. A beam from the ceiling crashed down next to them, sending a shower of sparks onto his back. His shirt caught fire. He slapped it out with his bare hand, not even feeling the burn. He had to get her out. If he didn't, they would both die here, holding hands in the ashes of their poverty. "I got you," Minho gritted his teeth. "I will not let you go." He summoned strength he didn't know he had. It wasn't muscle strength. It was the strength of a man terrified of losing the other half of his soul. He scooped her up into his arms. She felt so light, so fragile. He turned toward the door, but a wall of flames blocked the exit. The stairs were burning. There was only one way out. The small window near the ceiling. The one the thug had broken. Minho dragged a burning crate over to the wall. He stepped up on it. He lifted Adanna up toward the window. "Take her," he screamed to the crowd outside. "Someone take her." Hands reached down from the street level. Strong hands. They grabbed Adanna's arms and pulled her up, out of the smoke, out of the hell. Minho watched her disappear into the cool night air. Relief washed over him. She was safe. Then, the crate beneath him crumbled into ash. Minho fell backward into the fire. Darkness took him. Beep, beep, beep. The sound was steady. Rhythmic. Minho opened his eyes. Everything was white. White ceiling. White sheets. He tried to move, but his body felt heavy. He looked down. His arms were wrapped in bandages. His leg was in a cast. He turned his head. Sitting in a chair next to the bed was a woman. She was wearing a hospital gown, and she had an oxygen mask over her face. Her hair was short and fuzzy. Adanna. She was awake. She was watching him. Her eyes were full of tears. Minho tried to speak, but his throat was raw. "You." He rasped. Adanna pulled the mask down. "You idiot," she whispered, but she was smiling. "You jumped into a fire." "I had to," Minho croaked. "You were in there." "We are alive," Adanna said, reaching out to touch his bandaged hand gently. "Mr. Park pulled you out. He arrived with the fire trucks. He said you owed him a software update, so he couldn't let you die." Minho chuckled, which turned into a cough. "Of course. Business." The door opened. Mr. Park walked in. He looked different. He wasn't wearing his usual scary expression. He looked respectful. "You two are reckless," Mr. Park said, standing at the foot of the bed. "But you are lucky." "The Vipers?" Minho asked. "In jail," Mr. Park smiled. "Your ghost protocol code, it didn't just protect my systems. It backtraced their location when they tried to hack me again. The police raided their hideout an hour ago. They recovered about 40% of your stolen money. The rest is gone, but 40% is enough to start over." Minho looked at Adanna. 40%. It was millions. They were rich again. But Minho didn't feel the rush of greed he used to feel. He looked at the money as a tool, nothing more. A tool to build a life for the woman who had loved him when he had zero. "Keep the code, Park," Minho said. "It's yours. We had a deal." "I know," Mr. Park nodded. "But I have a better idea. Join me. We merge our companies. You run the tech side. I run the business side. We build the biggest security empire in Asia. Partners." Minho looked at Adanna. He was asking for her permission. He would never make a decision without her again. Adanna nodded slowly. "Do it. But this time, we do it with kindness." 3 years later. The morning sun poured into the kitchen, but this wasn't the cold, glass prison of the past. It was a warm, golden house filled with laughter. Minho stood at the stove. He was wearing an apron that said "Best Dad." He was flipping pancakes. He wasn't rushing to check the stock market. He wasn't yelling about the coffee being too cold. He was humming a Nigerian lullaby Adanna had taught him. "Breakfast is ready," he called out. Adanna walked into the kitchen. She looked breathtaking. Her hair was long again, styled in beautiful, thick braids that reached her back, woven with gold beads. She wore a vibrant, colorful dress that celebrated her culture. She walked with confidence, with the grace of a queen who knows she is loved. She wasn't alone. Holding her hand was a 2-year-old boy with curly hair and Minho's smile. And in her arms, she held a newborn baby girl. "Dada!" the little boy squealed, running to hug Minho's leg. Minho scooped him up, spinning him around. "Good morning, my little tiger." He walked over to Adanna and kissed her forehead tenderly. He looked at her with such adoration that it made her blush, even after all this time. "How is the princess?" Minho asked, touching the baby's cheek. "She is hungry," Adanna laughed. "Just like her father." They sat down to eat. The table was full of food, pancakes, fruit, and spicy Nigerian pepper soup. Minho ate the soup with a smile, sweating a little, but loving every bite because she made it. Their life had changed completely. Minho and Mr. Park's company, Phoenix Security, was the most successful tech firm in the country. They were billionaires. But Minho didn't hoard the money anymore. He and Adanna had started a foundation, the Adanna Initiative. It paid for medical surgeries for poor families in Nigeria and Korea. They built hospitals. They built schools. They made sure no daughter ever had to sell her hair to save her mother again. Minho treated Adanna not just as a wife, but as his equal. She was on the board of directors. She made decisions. When they went to galas, he didn't care about his image. He held her hand proudly, introducing her to everyone as the woman who saved my life. One evening, after the kids were asleep, they sat on the balcony watching the sunset over the city. Minho brushed a loose braid behind Adanna's ear. "Do you remember the basement?" he asked softly. "I remember," Adanna said, resting her head on his shoulder. "I remember the mold. And the frying pan." Minho laughed. "I am glad we went there. I am glad I lost everything." "Why?" "Because if I hadn't lost my money, I never would have found my heart," Minho said seriously. "I was a stone, Adanna. You broke me open and found the mun inside. I love you. More than money. More than life." Adanna looked at him. The scars of the fire were still faintly visible on his arms, a permanent reminder of the night he walked into hell for her. "I love you too, my angel," she whispered. Minho smiled. He wasn't the naive angel who had been tricked by Sujin. And he wasn't the cruel devil who had kicked Adanna out. He was a mun. A father. A husband. Whole and healed. He pulled her close, and they watched the stars come out, ready to build their future together, one day at a time. The end. Thank you for watching this incredible journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. If you believe that true love can heal even the hardest hearts, please give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss our next amazing story. We have so many more emotional tales coming your way. Leave a comment below. What was your favorite part of Minho and Adanna's story? See you in the next video.